Hey, we're doing an experiment. Yeah. So, like I said, we're doing an experiment in today's video. We're going to take this off. And we're going to see what kind of performance we can get in games with this beast without any active cooling on the card. I've made a couple of modifications to the way that the air flows in my PCE case, just to give this card a fighting chance, because there is no way this heatsink is going to cool 400 watts. One of the more challenging aspects of removing the shroud and the fans themselves is these little clips. They can be a little bit of a pain to get to in such a tight space, but if you just work on them a little bit gently, you can get them out. It took me a few minutes, but once I got them, they came out real easy. And then there's this little bar here that holds the cabling in for each of the fans, and of course there's a tray run across here that holds the cables out of the way. Really easy, real simple. Let's find out what performance is like. Alright, here's the 3080 Ti inside the case. Like I said, I've made a few adjustments. I've got bottom fans as intake. I've also got my top fans as intake. And I've got a couple fans on the side. Instead of glass, I've got a couple fans. A 200mm Noctua and a 120mm to pull heat out of the case, since we've got bottom and top as intake. And I'm doing that because we don't have fans on the GPU, so there's not going to be any direct airflow pushing across these fins. There's not going to be enough pressure to push air through the openings on the back of the card and away from the GPU. So I'm going to have air coming down from the top across the RAM and the chipset and on the back of the GPU, whatever air is left. And then these front fans are going to pull air out of the system. So, let's see what happens. Not a perfect test, but I'm curious, and I hope you're curious. Alright, we're going to start off testing with Doom Eternal. We're sitting here at 4K, maxed settings, ray tracing on. Like I said, everything Ultra Nightmare, everything max. Turn on the metrics. We're sitting at a toasty 71 Celsius. It's only going to get hotter. I have power limited to 40% on the GPU, but I have not downclocked any of the core or RAM clocks. I'm letting the card do its own thing.
The Super Gore Nest location is nearby. This is the site where the invasion began. The oldest and most corrupted on the planet. The Ark fought hard.
Sorry about that. Had a kiddo coming down to say hi. Here we are, back again. Okay. This isn't my personal favorite level. I think it's been used a little too much in a lot of other tests, but it gets into the action pretty quick, so we're going to use it. It's been a while since I played, so please forgive me if I'm not playing at S level. Alright, slowly climbing, 76 Celsius. That's not too bad though, considering. Drawing 160 watts. No fans on the GPU itself. Relying on case fans. Speaking of, I have my case fans set at a minimum of 60%. They're set to ramp up to 100% at about 75 Celsius on the CPU, and we're nowhere near that, so I don't imagine we're going to get a whole lot more airflow. The upside to these Lianli AL120s is they look amazing, and they do a decent job of putting air in or out of your case, but they don't create a very strong vortex. So concerning how the air flows across the GPU, I'm not sure how much direct airflow it's actually getting. I don't imagine it's great. But it does seem to be doing something. I mean, we haven't hit 80 yet. We're about to. 80 Celsius on the core. There we go. Oh, insufficient fuel. But hey, 4K 30, that's not too bad. Let's go ahead and turn on DLSS and see what happens with frame rate. Where are we at? Oh, wrong menu. Alright, DLSS. Let's do quality and see how it goes. Hey, not bad. Still jumping around a bit. But we're in the 40s right now, where we were barely getting 29 before. That's not too bad. Image still looks good. You joik. Hands off. It costs extra. Woo! Getting my butt kicked. Alright, let's turn DLSS onto balanced. See if we can't find a happy medium to hit 60 FPS. No, really. I'm surprised. We're still not hitting 60 FPS. Well. Okay. Let's try performance. Alright, still bobbing around a bit. But frame rates are averaging better. We're close to 60. I'm not completely satisfied with it though, to be honest. Not that the image looks bad, it looks fine. It's just, I honestly would have thought we'd have hit 60. DLSS on performance. I guess not. Alright, we're back at 1440p. DLSS off. All settings on Ultra Nightmare, just like we started at 4K. Turn on the metrics and see what happens.
The Super Gornest location is nearby. This is the site where the invasion began. The oldest and most corrupt location on the planet. The Ark fought hard, but they were eventually driven out by the demons.
Wow, I think performance is worse. Ha! It's because I'm an idiot. I had the power limit set to 25% from when I was trying to cool off the GPU. Alright, now it's at 40% like it should be. So that we're hitting 160 watts. You son of a... You're dead, man. That's much better. Man, I'm playing like crap today. What am I aiming at? Alright, we're looking at 70-ish FPS. Just dipped to 59 during a close explosion. That's not too bad. Basically at 60. I mean, more is better, especially in Doom Eternal. 120 is the goal, I think, for most setups. But hey, we're doing 1440 60 without a fan, and we're sitting at 78 Celsius right now. 160 watt power draw. It's not too bad. Let's turn on some DLSS just to be fair. Start with quality like before. Alright. Small bump. Right about 80 FPS. About a 10 FPS gain, I think. Woo. He's hungry. Alright, let's drop DLSS down a little bit to balanced. Another small bump, nothing big. Where did they go? Here, pinky, pinky, pinky. There you are. FPS. We're in a closed space though, so that does help. And there are no enemies on screen. But let's drop DLSS down to performance. See if we can hit 120. Not quite. Not quite, but we are close to 100 FPS, so that's something. Not too shabby for a card. A 3080 Ti, mind you, without cooling fans. Running 160 watts. I'd love to see how AMD cards would do in this kind of scenario. From what I can tell, they don't use much power, and that's gotta help. They wouldn't do ray tracing super well, mind you, but everything else should be about on par at a lower wattage. Alright, well, let's check it out at 1080p. Alright, once more into the fray. Now we're here at 1080p, no DLSS, ray tracing on, ultra nightmare settings just like previously. Let's get them metrics. 40% power limit. I remembered this time. No oopsies here. Except for my playing. That's the only oopsie. Alright. And look at that. We're over 120 FPS. Sometimes. Hovering right around 90 to 100 FPS. It looks like from most of the gameplay. Hey, that's rude, you jerk. So much easier to play with a high frame rate. Alright. Frame rate's looking pretty good. Ooh. We're jumping right up to 80 Celsius. Just about, anyways. Okay. Before I forget and waste a bunch of this video, let's go ahead and turn on DLSS to quality, and we'll do the climb just like we did before. Again, not much of an improvement. Hi, cat. $120, $130, sometimes down to like 110. Not too shabby, but I would just play at native res, to be honest. Alright, let's pop it down to balanced. We're losing image quality, but let's keep the testing fair. Frame rates are pretty good on Balanced. 120 is the lowest I've seen so far. Those stupid energy walls, man. Ah. Frame rate's good though. Image still looks okay. Not as sharp as I would like, but performance is really good. Let's bump it down to performance, DLSS, and see what happens. Ah! Who hit me? Was it you? Get out of here. Leave me alone. It's like Jackie Chan up in here. Just leave me alone. Just trying to eat my lunch. Getting blindsided here. Oh, you. So much easier to play with a high frame rate, though. My reactions feel more natural. Better response times. Performance DLSS gets us a few extra frames on average, but again, not a huge difference. I think it'd be better just to play at native 1080p like this. Keep the image quality, play it around 100 FPS. Especially if you have VRR display, you'd probably be fine. I don't think you'd really notice that much. Alright. Ow. I shot myself. Alright, let's take care of this pinky. Yeah, take that. Alright. Performance is pretty good. 1080p really helps even out the frame rates since we are relying on the CPU a bit more. Not a ton more, but 25-ish, 30%, depending on the amount of action going on in the scene. So, do I think you should run your card this way? Heck yeah, I do. I think this is a great way to run your GPU, especially if you want awesome performance. I couldn't even get through that. Admit it, I had you. I had you going. This is definitely not how you should run your card. This is just one of those things that I've been curious about for a little while, to see what it would be like to run my 3080 Ti with its ridiculous power consumption and heat output without any fans blowing directly on the GPU. And it kind of went how I thought it would. I didn't really think that I'd be able to even dissipate 120 watts worth of heat output from that GPU. So I call this a win. I mean, not really a benchmark, it's more of just a crazy experiment. Because, well, just because. If you're into that kind of thing and you thought that this was interesting, hit that like button, subscribe all! Let me know, because I want to do a test like this on that tiny little 3060. Since it draws so much less power, I think it might actually do a little bit better overall. Thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. Check me out over on Twitter if you haven't already at Hardly_Tech. Consider becoming a patron. And if you haven't already, check out my secondary, Hardly Games. I'll be posting there pretty regularly at whatever game I'm playing right now. Submit your comments down below. Tell me what you thought of this experiment and what other kind of crazy experiments you'd like to see on this channel. I'll be reading the comments. Check you out on the next video. Bye. Bye-bye.